Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name's Connor, and you're listening to Film Talks. And in this episode, I'm going to be reviewing the Netflix animated film that came out in November 2019 titled Klaus. 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 And let me just start off by saying I'm impressed by this movie. I'm a little upset that this movie wasn't on my radar. Just recently, I put it on my watch list on Netflix, but I didn't, I didn't get around to watching it. Until today, really, and that's just because I came out with an episode about Christmas movies, and I was like, you know what? Let's watch this thing. Let's see if I know what I'm talking about, and maybe I don't. I think I'm kind of questioning that episode a lot with me touting, oh, I have the formula for what makes a good Christmas movie. Maybe I don't. I don't know. This movie was just wonderful, and I don't even know if it fulfills all of my criteria for a good Christmas movie. But it was great. And it's kind of amazing to me that when I go on YouTube and I look up Klaus reviews, there's like nobody there. All of the big movie review guys, none of them said anything about this movie. And again, it's been like basically a year since this movie came out, and nothing. So, kind of blown away. I'm kind of taking this as, I want to get this movie out there. I want people to know about this movie. And maybe nobody heard about it because it's a Netflix movie. And again, Netflix doesn't really have a big a good track record for their movies. Their TV shows are pretty good, but I can't really think of a lot of good Netflix movies. And so maybe that wasn't going for it. Also, it was just an animated Christmas movie. There's tons of those, so maybe people were just like, oh, it's another run-of-the-mill. The directors, there's Sergio Pablos, and then another director named Carlos Martinez Lopez. Pablos is basically a nobody. He was a character animator for Disney. He did stuff like Tarzan and Treasure Planet. So basically the people behind it weren't that big either. But this movie, wonderful. It's rated PG. The runtime is an hour and 36 minutes. It's nothing. I felt like it wasn't bloated. The story was maybe predictable, I guess, but it's a Christmas movie. I don't think a lot of people are coming to watch these movies, looking for something that'll just blow their socks off. Although there were parts of this story that really appealed to me, and I'll get into that. But first, I want to talk about this cast. The cast is kind of interesting. So we have Jason Schwartzman, J.K. Simmons, Rashida Jones, Will Sasso, Norm Macdonald, Joanne Cusack, a lot of big names, and most of them recognizable voices, which is definitely important for an animated film. But I think these particular voices, they're very... most of them comedians. Maybe J.K. Simmons is the only one who's a little more dramatic, but he does funny stuff too. Just look at Spider-Man. But I thought this movie had a lot of drama and charm. My Aunt Beth, when she talked about what she appreciates in a Christmas movie, and basically what my mom and my grandma also said, was they really appreciate that heart in a movie. That Grinch scene where the heart grows 2 sizes or 3 sizes. If you can get that in a Christmas movie, it really makes it feel like a Christmas movie, and you definitely get that. There's so much soul in this that it's perfect. And maybe I just get into the story. I don't think this is a movie that I need to spoil to really get into, so I'm gonna not put a spoiler warning on this thing. I want people to watch this movie. I'm going to give you a quick blurb or a little summary to really talk about the stuff that I really enjoyed, but nothing that would really ruin the movie for you. That would just make it like, oh, I don't need to see this movie anymore. But basically, it's about a mailman named Jesper. His dad is the postmaster general. And Jesper is kind of one of those pompous kids who doesn't really want to do anything with his life. He just wants to live off his dad. And his dad is like, no, You have to make something of yourself, Jesper. So he sends Jesper a challenge, basically. He says, go up north to this island and establish a post office. And that's probably one of the great things about this movie is there's so many like just weird, funny jokes within this movie. Like there's a postman academy and like so grand. I'm not dissing post office people, but like it's a little over the top. But basically, he sends Jesper. He's like, go to this island, create a post office, and have 7,000 or 8,000, a large amount of letters sent using this post office, and you can come home. But if you fail, I think he's given like a year to do this. But if you fail, you have to stay there. So obviously he goes there with the intention, I'm going to figure out a way to get back to my good life. And again, I think I don't think this story is unpredictable. We're all seeing where this is going, where, the pompous kid learns humility and grace and love for everyone else, and that does happen. But the fun part is the reason why they can't establish a post office is because you have these two warring families within this town, and they don't need a post office because they don't want to send messages to each other because they don't like each other. So that provides some fun gags and stuff that happened in the background of a lot of the scenes, and that's always fun where like people will just talk, but then something in the background will happen that kind of draws your eye. But the definite the comedy, I think you're going to find out most of that in the town when he interacts with the children that are all bratty and stuff. But the soul of the movie is with the Klaus character, who is supposed to look like Santa and act like Santa, but he is not Santa. Well, yeah. But when he meets Klaus, he basically comes up with the idea of let's basically Klaus is a woodman and woodworker or whatever, and he's got all these toys in his house, and Jesper's like, what we should do is we should use these toys and give them to the children down there, kind of appealing to Klaus's soft side, making it sound like a selfless thing. But really what Jesper's trying to do is then he goes around and says, okay, kids, there's this guy and he's going to give you toys, but in order for you to get these toys, you have to mail him letters. And, if you don't send a letter, he won't know that you need a toy. So that's how he gets his letter output kicked up a notch. But it provides some funny stuff with him and the kids. And I think a really interesting thing that they do is, because it's not quite a Santa Claus story, but it's kind of a retelling of it, they kind of infuse the legend of Santa Claus throughout this. So like the naughty list is kind of something that Jesper just made up because he wanted to like stop the kids from being so rude to him, and it worked. But the quote that always got me, which was kind of the mantra of the film that they said over and over again, was something Klaus says, where he says, "A true selfless act always sparks another." And that's really what happens in the movie. Once people start becoming selfless and caring, then it just carries on, and it's like an infection. It just fills the hole, and everything, goes right and stuff. But obviously, at some point, they're going to find out that Jesper was being selfish, and you're going to get that back and forth. But really, really, the stuff that got me was the stuff between Jesper and Klaus, was that I was not really expecting. That it was kind of a brotherhood, friendship kind of story on top of the Christmas story as well. And again, like I told you, there are funny jokes, so I laughed a lot, but I almost cried a couple times. The ending was amazing. Like, I was not expecting that ending at all, and it was super sweet and exactly what I wanted, and it just left me sort of like laying there just like, wow, like just happy. And that's really what I wanted. I just read a book the other day, and it left me feeling sour. So I watched this movie, and it just gave me heart. And that's what Christmas movies are supposed to do. If anything, like, take nothing away from my previous video. You should feel full of joy and selflessness, if anything, after watching a Christmas movie. And that's exactly what you get from this. besides the story, though, is the animation, and the animation is key. It's honestly the thing that got me engaged first when I was looking at the trailer, because it's a unique style. And I think nowadays with Pixar and Disney and Illumination and DreamWorks and all these people, they all have different styles. Sure, like Kung Fu Panda doesn't look like Tangled, but they all have this high production value. They're all these CG people. A lot of them nowadays are trying to go for realism, like the Toy Story 4. Um, Not really a good movie, but the animation was so realistic. Like they were putting all this effort into dust particles. This one seemed to go back to that more 2D style that I really love, that you get in like Treasure Planet was really probably one of the last ones I remember really utilizing 2D, and even that one had 3D as well as 2D. Um, but this one had a great animated style. It had that kind of um, some minor things that maybe, like I saw some Tim Burton influence. It wasn't a Tim Burton film, so for anyone being like, oh, I don't like Tim Burton, it wasn't a Tim Burton film. But like there were some like nostalgic moments where you're like, oh, that's kind of a Tim Burton thing to do. Like there would be some buildings that are like really crooked and scratchy, and they kind of reflect the evilness of the people that lived inside, and it was just fun. The people are kind of weirdly proportioned. Like there are some people that are just giant, but they have like tiny heads and little arms. Klaus, for instance, he's this jacked Santa Claus guy, but he has like a smaller head and tiny legs. And I don't know. I thought the just the way the characters moved in the scene, the way the scene looked, it was engaging. Um, so yeah, I think the acting was fun, the story was fun, the animation was fun. I really would recommend this movie. If I were to give it a grade, which like I'm always like torn when I'm giving something a grade, because then I feel like, like, is that maybe reducing it down too much? But honestly, like I would watch this movie again if my family were like, "Hey, let's watch it. Let's watch this movie. You think it's good? Let's watch it." I would watch it 3 more times. It's a fun story. So maybe I give it a 9, honestly. Maybe that's rash, but right now I'm thinking 9. Um, but yeah. So watch this movie. I think it's maybe not owed, but it deserves views a lot more than it seems to have had before. I don't know if it'll reach like Christmas cult status or classic status, but it's a good movie. If not a good Christmas movie, it's a good animated movie, or just a good movie in general that I think a lot of people will appreciate. Um, and I think it's a family movie that adults, kids, all of them can appreciate. And yeah, I think that's about it. That's all I have to say. So thank you for watching on YouTube at Film Talks YouTube page, or listening on all of my music streaming services that my podcast is on. Uh, if you do end up watching it, or you have questions about this movie, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section on my YouTube page, or on my Facebook or Instagram pages at film.talksofficial. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this movie. I think it's really great, and I think a lot of my listeners or viewers would like this movie too. And yeah, thank you so much for listening or watching, and I hope to hear from you soon. So long.